Welcome back, and today we are going to be playing out the G.91Y at 9.0. And when this thing came out, it was quite sad. It was like playing a horror game because you were going up against the A10 and SU-25 horde that was slinging all aspect missiles at you in the head-on, which basically meant that you weren't able to play the game at all. Now it's kind of the opposite. Now you are Slenderman and everyone is scared of you. At 9.0 this thing is absolutely criminal, and especially with the new battle rating changes where all the 10.0s and up basically got moved up other than the FAU, which is also absolutely criminal. Well, this thing is just sitting very pretty directly at 9.0. Yes, if you get up tier to 9.3 and 9.7, there are some missiles that you really have to worry about, and some planes that really just kick your shit in, like the F-104s and the MiG-19s, but overall you can handle with them somewhat fine, and anything below those types of planes, you just absolutely rock around. Now your main competitor here is going to be the CL-13B. Now I do think that the CL-13B has a better flight model overall, especially for the 1v1, but when it comes to the actual Arab B match performance, I do think that the G.91Y just has it beat due to the acceleration and also the guns. Now the guns aren't always as consistent as a 50 cal, but they very often will hit harder and they end up getting one shots a lot more often than a 50 cal will. And in Arab B this is very important because you just want to cut the people down as quickly as you can. The longer you take to get a singular kill, the worse it is for the rest of the match, because if you can just kind of cut through people very quickly, it is very easy to snowball the game, and it's very easy to just rack up those high kill games. Now in the CL-13B it still happens, but you know, sometimes you get unlucky with the 50 cal damage and you end up getting like 2000 hits on the same bozo, and that's gonna cost you a lot of things. It's gonna cost you time, energy, and overall just position, because it's gonna take you multiple passes to kill one dude. Whereas with this thing, very often one burst, they're crippled or they're dead. Very rarely you get like hits and or useless crit, but most of the time you just outright slap them out of the air. Now if you compare this thing to the CL-13B, I do think it kind of turns into a stalemate. I do think it's a little bit of preference. I just prefer the CL-13 because I am still a saber jockey deep down in my heart. But this thing has a lot of tools. The acceleration is the main thing here. The turn rate is okay. It's not really like a G91R where it turns super tightly and pisses away all of its speed. It does still kind of piss away speed for the amount of turn that you are getting. The retention is okay, but it feels like it's mostly down to the fact that it doesn't actually pull that tight. Now at some speeds it does, but it does compress quite a bit at super high speed, and at super low speed it feels like a bit of a boat. It is quite heavy. Doesn't mean it's not maneuverable, but you really have to work with your energy and not so much your turn rate. And yes, he just flew so close to me that he flew in between the camera and my plane. But at MiG-17 almost rammed us out of the air. Luckily we crit the other one and put him into a flat spin. Was it a Sabre? I think it was the FA6K. It doesn't really matter. He flew very close to us. And now we're actually gonna just kind of position ourselves through the match. If you are wondering about the skin, it's from the marketplace, not War Thunder Live. It says CBR on the side, so I have to run it. Because, you know, I have the CBR 1000 and I made my first riding video yesterday on the public release. So I made a second channel. Feel free to check it out if you are interested in such a thing. I won't be promoting it too much on this channel anymore. I'm trying to step away from War Thunder with that channel. I want it to be its own thing. I might shout it out occasionally to give you guys like a little bit of a nudge, but overall I want to just focus on War Thunder on this channel only. Now I'm also running the AA-20 Nord. Now they are a little bit inconsistent, they are a little bit finicky, because well, the warhead is simply way too small for the proxy fuse that it has. So very often it simply explodes at a distance, but quite literally doesn't do any significant damage whatsoever. So I like to just kind of use them as head-on missiles at point blank ranges. If they don't kill, so be it. I have to admit, most of the time these things feel better as flares than an actually offensive weapon. Because as flares, these things are very reliable. You only have two of them of course, but luckily there aren't too many high-powered missiles in this bracket anymore. Not like it was when they added this damn thing. So the experience now is infinitely better. The rolls are basically reversed, and especially in the down tiers, this thing is an absolute menace. Now in the up tiers it can still hang somewhat. Keep in mind that most of the 9.0s are incredibly ridiculous right now. We have the Hunter F6, we have the CL-13B and the G91Y now. And they are all cleaning house. They don't get fully up tiered as often as a 9.3 will. And when you get fully up tiered, you run into FAUs, which are also some of the stupidest plane in the game right now. And I don't want to pull this card, but I want Gaijin, when they changed these BRs, that this was going to happen, and they hit me with the, well, we already changed this many planes, we can't really feasibly change any more of them. I said, just change like 5 or 6 more, the 9.3s, move some 9.0s up, and move the F8U up, which is now almost a full BR lower than the goddamn F4C. But you know, they said, nope, that's not possible. And here we are. We have to wait until the next battle rating changes. And if you are familiar with the F8Us, very often you see people that are negative in literally every plane. They go 0.7 to 1, 0.5 to 1 in everything. And then they fly the F8U. And guess what? They go 2, sometimes even 3 to 1. It's very clearly overperforming. But again, they don't listen. They probably just thought, well, no one is flying it right now. Let's just make it overpowered for a bit so everyone GEs it. I'm not sure what that thought process is. But I feel like it almost has to have a monetary incentive. Now they're also going to be nerfing the F104s, the F104As especially. It's going to get quite a drastic hit on the energy retention, which is kind of a double-edged sword, because now it is never going to go up in BR. It's still going to be as fast. It just won't be as good in terms of like sticking to the dogfight, actually turning with people and maintaining your speed. Now if they give it F111 aardvark retention, then yeah, it doesn't really matter how fast it is. The second they do anything, they fall out of the air. But keep in mind, it still has insanely high acceleration. And the top speed is so much higher than anything it faces that it doesn't really matter if it loses speed, because you can just straight line it. And if people play it super passively, they are going to be even more annoying, because now they have zero incentive to ever fight you at all. And if they just keep running away, they're just gonna be even more annoying. Now when it comes to defeating missiles, they're gonna be even worse. If they roll out of the way, they're probably gonna be slow enough to the point where the second missile will slam them out of the air. But I don't think that this is the way. We could have just kept those things, maybe just give them flares, put them at like 10-0, and they'd be completely fine. And you might say it's not realistic. The F5A also doesn't have flares, and it very clearly has them in game. So why is that not an issue where it would be here, when it's actually an issue when it comes to balancing? Because when we look at the F5, if we remove the flares and moved it a full BR lower, it would also be an issue. It would be completely overpowered. And I think that realism sometimes has to take a backseat if it's something small like that, if it makes the balance in the game just infinitely better. Now let's take a look at the first actual game. In the background we are flying on the sand map, I forgot the name for a second, and we are in a bit of a 3-4v1. MiG-15, C-Vixen on top of us, barely dodged the missile, and a Sigma jet behind us. So right now I just want to make sure that the C-Vixen here doesn't have the ability to park on my 6 and start slinging those red tops at me. So I'm trying to reverse him here while trying to create distance between the Sigma jet and me. And that's working out quite decently. I don't want to go too slow, because it will be kind of dangerous. So I kind of roll in. The C-Vixen luckily is scissoring away from the Alpha jet here. So I'm going to be able to slowly but surely drift in behind him and disassemble his plane. Now the Alpha jet here is not going to be fast enough. He doesn't have the acceleration. So we are just going to put it into a little bit of a very wide spiral. I want to keep in mind that I don't want him too close to me. He has a 27mm. So I don't want to get railed by him at range. Now it might not do any damage, but I'm not taking any chances with that. Now you have the Swift coming in. I'm not sure if it's an F7 or an F1. We're just going to pick up a little bit of speed in case it's an F7. I do want to have a little bit of an ability there to dodge that missile if it comes in. It doesn't. It's a Swift F1. We crit him. He is absolutely hammered. And now the MiG-15 turned back. Now we have a MiG-15 and an Alpha jet. Now both of these planes I can deal with quite reliably, as long as it is only these two guys. The issue is I'm relatively low on fuel. My engines are overheating. And these are not the only people left on the map. For now, I'm just trying to equalize the speed a little bit. Trying to make him turn slightly. Trying to web. Trying to pick up my speed. And the second I notice that the energy is kind of equalized, I just kind of accelerate away in a horizontal manner. And then we go up slightly. Go into the spiral again. And hope that they pitch up for me. Now the MiG-15 doesn't follow at all. So instead we just turn around and engage the Alpha jet. And put it in the head-on. Don't really shoot, didn't feel like a good angle. I'm not really feeling going head on with an Alpha jet. and there comes another Sea Vixen. So now instead of being able to go vertical, I have to pay mind to the missile slinger because he is going to absolutely ruin my day. Now I can of course turn my engines off, but then the Alpha Jet is just going to clap me out of the air. Now we do throttle down a bit here so we don't get locked in the head-on. The second he passes, we throttle back up. We throttle back up, thank you very much. Roll out of the way for the MiG-15 and we get underneath him, and because his roll rate is so absolutely dog shit, I'm able to just full commit him and take him out to dinner. Now we only have the Vixen as well as the Alpha Jet left, and it's a little bit of an issue because these two planes, they counter each other in a way. I need to fight the Alpha Jet in the way that will get me killed versus the Sea Vixen, and I need to kill the Sea Vixen in the way that gets me killed by the Alpha Jet. So this is a really annoying position to be in. So instead I just turn into both of them and I go for the reversal on the Alpha Jet and hope that I kill him before the Sea Vixen turns around. Now luckily they both go into the same direction, so now I'm behind the Sea Vixen a little bit, and that will buy me a little bit of time to make sure that the Alpha Jet dies right here. Now we disassemble his plane, we set him on fire. The issue is that we run out of ammo, we're out of fuel, and I tried to cut off the engine and glide back to the airfield. Yeah, didn't really work out, and we end up not being able to land. So that's a little bit unfortunate. He kept like running loops on me. So eventually I have to turn my engine back on, and guess what? We got our ass eaten out. Now here, a few games later, MiG-21, that is a MiG-21S. He shot an R3 in the head-on at me earlier, so I kind of wanted to shoot a missile at him first, so he starts dodging. We dodged the R3. G.91Y coming in as well. It's basically just a slightly stronger F-13, but it is less maneuverable. It's a little bit heavier. So I just kind of reverse my turns here, get behind him instantly. He makes a bad call. We are now firmly planted on his ass, and I want to kill him right here. Severe him, absolutely disassembled. He's not even going to be gliding back to the airfield. And the MiG-21 that's behind us is now actually not that much faster than us. So we are basically equal in energy. I shoot off the missile there to get rid of the weight, and we turn into the MiG-21. We go low to deny him the angle, pull up over his nose. If he wants to follow this, he will fall out of the air because, well, he wasn't going that fast to begin with, and the MiG-21 is still a delta wing, and it's not doing very well. It tries to energy trap me, but at this point I have too much energy, too much nose authority, and while he is a little bit faster, he is nowhere near fast enough and doesn't have anyone near the distance to really get away from my guns. Now we missile the F-30 here. It was a little bit of a bad shot, slight desync going on as well. It exploded way from where it actually exploded, but we crit him. We then severe him. He's AFK anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We just kind of pick up a free kill that you get by climbing straight into the enemy team, because this is an 8.0 match, and I just wanted to show you how unfair it really is. Because, well, the plane is incredibly good, and the real only competitors here are the Hunter F6, which is just more of a frag bus. It's kind of the comparison between this and the CO-13. I think that the F6 is just a step more of this, where it just completely specced into fragging as many people as quickly as possible, whereas in the 1v1 it might not be as powerful. Then here is an F9F, which is also a little bit unsuspecting. After killing the Limb 5 in the head-on, only got a hit. I'm not sure what I damaged, but apparently it was enough to put him out of his misery, so I'm gonna just completely take that. And then here we have an F9F. I mean, he's not really paying attention at all. I also can't aim suddenly, but we take his plane apart. And this is one of the strengths of this plane. Yes, these people look AFK, and they are. And it's because you're just there so damn quickly. Especially 8.0s just don't expect you to be there that quickly. They don't know what F104 states they are like just yet. So they might just be AFK climbing. They might be coming just out of low tier jets. And if you just push straight in, do a half circle, very often you end up killing like 1, 2, sometimes even 3 people that are simply flying away from you, like that F9F just there. They're not aware of you at all, and it's kind of boring, and I'm trying to like give you content that isn't just sleep inducing, and it was kind of difficult because this plane is simply so good that it flies itself. Yes, you have to use your brain a little bit, like in that little bit of a dogfight with the 3 people at once, but in general this plane is almost a cheat code. You do need to be somewhat smart with your decisions, but this thing has so much potential. The skill floor is still pretty damn low, and I think that basically anyone can play this thing. Yes, you need a little bit of know-how. Yes, you need a bit of experience. It's not completely free, but if you have some semblance of knowledge in this game, you know what most planes behave like, you know your options versus most of your enemies, where 99% of the time it's simply accelerate and fly away anyway. If you know like how to fight those 4 or 5 planes that are slightly different, then you are gonna be cooking. And I really hope that I won't see like 2000 of these things in the next week, because I still have to do some videos at 9.0. So I think I'm just gonna be trying to record them the second I get this video out. But you know, time will tell. We disassemble another F9F, and this plane is just, it is completely unfair. That was kill number 6. And here we are gonna go for the strafe on number 7. Don't forget to check out the motorcycle video that I posted yesterday. It's in the description. New channel. If you are interested in that kind of thing, feel free to check it out. Thank you all for watching, and you'll see me in the next one.